I'm gonna quote tweet and say we're live. What's going on, Parker?
Oh, just watching a football game, I suppose.
Yeah. This last drive, I think they just tried to work back into their normal offense, but I don't know what our normal offense is anymore, right? No explosive plays today. I think we had one throw over 15 yards, and that was the incompletion on the right side. Burrow was just throwing it away because he was facing pressure.
Can't hold it.
Had a couple keys to the game. Had a couple keys to the game today that I felt like obviously things just didn't go our way. Pretty much every little key that we had. So defensively, take advantage of the Titans' left tackle situation. I feel like that didn't happen nearly as much as I wanted it to. Stop Derrick Henry. We gave up 88 yards and a touchdown on 17 carries to Henry, 5.2 yards per carry. That didn't happen. Forced Tannehill into 3rd and long. Felt like when he got into 3rd and long, they had a penalty almost every single time that went their way. So that didn't work out. Oh, look at that. Burrow running behind Ted Karras. Just got mangled. Contain Hopkins. That didn't happen. Hopkins went for 63 yards today. A majority of those were 3rd down conversions.
How does that even happen, man? Like, you gotta...
O-line needs to hold up. They didn't hold up today. Get Huggins involved. Rib injury. Went out, 4th drive before halftime?
Yeah, right before half.
Continue to move Chase around. We did that a little bit. He started to get involved, but I don't think anything. It opened up anything deep. And if it did open up something deep, the offensive line didn't give him enough time to be able to get it there. Create explosive runs. Do what?
Saw a lot of extra pressure. It was interesting how they chose to handle that. Yeah, just you can't go deep if you're going to hold extra guys in for protection. You can't go deep against extra pressure too often. That's never a recipe for success. Would like to see them, kind of attack the pressure with quick game, and yeah, they didn't.
And then obviously exploit the Titans secondary, which we didn't do because we had to play a lot of quick game. Again, even max protection. And I know the one that I'm talking about, right? Where we had max protection and we just 3 or 4 guys just lost there. Yeah. And Burrow tried to throw it with 3 guys in his face. Oh, look. Derrick Henry, 100 yards now and a touchdown. If anything, this is probably the worst, maybe not the worst loss. I don't know. The Browns' losses have been pretty bad, but that's been like the only team that has consistently gotten us like that. This is probably the worst loss outside the Browns' losses. But this is clearly a different football team than the one we're used to.
Well, I feel like the difference is, it just didn't feel good. Like no part of this game felt good except that first drive, which is funny because you hear a lot of criticism about the scripted plays and got to get away from the scripted plays. The script might be the only thing that went well today.
It was 5 runs, 5 passes, good mixture, good variation. Honestly, should have probably gone for a touchdown there at the beginning instead of running. I mean, if you're going to run the football on 3rd down, you might as well go for it on 4th, right?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier this week, you and me, If you're gonna get yourself into third and short, and then I mean that's a great time to either take a shot or try and get a chunk run. Then if it doesn't work, just go for it. Don't settle. Don't settle.
Right.
Not in your
2 of
territory.
9
Not
on
in
third
your
downs. 2 of 9 on third downs. Not going to win you a football game.
Yeah, third down offense has not been good all year. All year. Man.
All right, I'm joining in on the chat now. I just have to go to the website. Let's see. What are people saying? Pulling linebackers from the middle of the field not working so far this season.
I'd love to talk about that a little bit, honestly, because what they've done with their linebackers this year has been weird to me. I don't know what they're going for. I don't know what the game plan is, but I feel like everything they've done with them has been wrong. I don't know if that's just offense is getting lucky or putting them in bad spots, but the linebacker situation, we have two very good linebackers, very capable linebackers that I feel like haven't been in positions to succeed this season.
It's probably the O-line's worst performance of the year. Fair to say?
We'll see. I'm interested to see how many free rushers came from the O-line versus, the help they were getting in protection, whether it was a back, a tight end, whoever it might have been. I don't know, man. Because it wasn't a lot of losing your one-on-ones, but then when they did lose, it was bad, obviously. I don't think Orlando had a great game. I think Ted was on skates most of the game. It's two positions you don't want to be noticing a lot on a broadcast.
Yeah. On those protections, when you have a free runner, isn't that the job of the quarterback to be able to call those protections out?
Well, yeah, but I think I'm interested to see more of is the O-line getting beat, or is it just linebackers beating Joe Mixon or Drew Sample or Will Cox or whoever else they decided to hold in today in protection, or if it was just the O-line losing one-on-ones. Because they did a lot of heavier protection sets, which was interesting, and I think that was a case of we want to try and get Joe Burrow to get this ball downfield and really open it up. So we're going to try and give him more help to give him more time. But like I've talked a little bit about today, it's not effective to go deep down the field out of max protect often. I mean, that's great, like situationally or even out of a play action look. But you can't just have Burrow dropping back and trying to sling the ball downfield to two receivers when you're holding in the rest of the offense. So, that's ball game. Game on. That's ball game.
Mixon, 67 yards today, 4.8 yards per carry, 14 rushes. Longest was 13 yards. Or are they going to they're being generous to us. They're going to kneel it down right here. Oh, wonderful. All right. Thanks for being generous, Titans. We only lost by 24. Let's start the show.
Let's get to it, buddy. Let's do it.
Welcome in on what is probably one of the worst days in recent history to be a Bengals fan.
Parker,
I feel terrible. Help me.
Doesn't feel good, buddy. It does not feel good.
Let's start it off with our game recap here. Bengals unscripted looked pretty good. 5 passes, 5 runs, march right down the field. Didn't go for it, though, on 4th and goal at the 3-yard line after a check from Joe Burrow on what I assume was a pass play to a run play for 3 yards. Put us on the board 3-0. Titans then marched right down the field themselves. Good mix in the run game. Felt like, they were able to pretty much get what they wanted in the run game on that first drive. But Tannehill looked a little suspect.
Yep.
And they capped it off with a field goal of their own after a Tannehill sack by B.J. Hill and Trey Hendrickson. And we were off to the races 3-3. At that point, you felt like, okay, we're going to build on this. The offense is going to come back out there, going to do their thing. And it looked like they had a couple first downs. But after a -2-yard run by Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow was sacked by Jeffrey Simmons, and we punted from our own 41-yard line. Brad Robbins, 49-yard punt. Brad Robbins actually played well today, Parker. But we'll get to that.
Good leg out of him today. Man, that 60-yarder was awesome.
After that, the Titans started to answer on us. That second quarter, Titans started to answer on us, Parker. 13-yard touchdown pass from Ryan Tannehill to Nick Akina Westbrook. Makes it 10-7. Bengals go with a 3-and-out after that. Titans score again. This time, Derrick Henry. 29-yard run to the left side. 17-3. And now everybody's thinking, stop the bleeding. Got to stop the bleeding. Got to score here. Has to happen, right? Bengals get 1 first down. But then, short. 3rd and 3. Incomplete to Tyler Boyd. Punt on 4th and 3. Brad Robbins, 53 yards. Puts the Titans at their own 20-yard line. And the Titans do the same thing that they did the prior 2 drives. March right down the field. A lot of compliments of Wiley on that drive, too, as well, including the 2-yard touchdown catch by Wiley, which made it 24-3. And now we're going into halftime as we kneel the football. Coming out second half, the Titans pretty much had what they wanted when they wanted. And a crucial and pivotal, I think, 3rd down unnecessary roughness call against Dax Hill. Was it Nick Scott? Was it, Jordan Battle? I don't know who it was against, but they called it.
No one knows who it was against, and no one knows what the call would have been.
No one knows who it was against. No one knows what the call was. But apparently, 15-yard phantom flag leads to a Titans field goal, 27-3. And honestly, after that, looked like the offense was going to get going. We drive down their side of the field. We're on their 37-yard line. Joe Burrow drops back, gets sacked, fumble. Kevin Byard recovers. Good pressure by Titans, adding extra men to the rush. And then the 4th quarter, just same old. Looks like, first drive was the 3-and-out. And that second drive, we were going. But, couldn't get anything going of late. And we put ourselves in a hole by getting Joe Burrow sacked on first down. And that's your ball game, 27-3.
Yeah.
Thoughts before we get into the run defense?
Man, it was that second half was uninspired, man, wasn't it? There was not a whole lot of pace, not a whole lot of electric, play calling, but I don't think that's expected at this point from the fan base. Just not a whole lot of much there in the 3rd quarter. It kind of felt like they came out in the second half and had already rolled over, which isn't a great feeling that early in a game.
When your quarterback is fragile, when he can't roll out of the pocket, when he can't do things that he's normally privy to that'll help this team out, but he still has the arm, the offensive line has to be able to protect him. They couldn't protect him today. He wasn't able to get any deep shots off. Intermediate game wasn't working. Short game was working. That's about it. But we went away from it in the second and the third quarter. Tried to keep taking these deep shots, which is getting Burrow killed. And I'd love to go back and watch it and see more of it, but let's get into the run defense. What did you see today out of the run defense, Parker?
I saw a lot of Miles Murphy instead of Trey Hendrickson, which was interesting. Not a bad move. I kind of like the, using, your player's strengths, and that's something that they kind of showed there. We're like, oh, well, let's let, Miles try and stuff this early, and then they brought Trey in once the Titans started kind of unloading downfield more. That was super interesting to me. I thought, especially later in the game, it felt like, they were getting a lot of contact at the line or behind the line and early, like in the first quarter. But that second quarter is really what just killed this entire game. You can't have a 21-point allowed second quarter. They didn't really feel like they could stop much at that point in the game, and that's kind of all she wrote, I think.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, the run defense was a big concern, I think, coming into this game because we really didn't stop the Rams. They just chose not to run the football. Last game, 2 games prior, we got killed in the run defense column, which led to the rest of our team not being able to win on the back end and coverage. It opens up everything, right? You can't stop the run. That's it. And today, I think on that first drive, it more importantly, I wanted to see, some strong run defense, and we didn't see it, right? They were able to march down the football field, even with Tannehill not being able to complete a lot of his passes and kick a field goal on that one. And when that happened, I was like, this is still a concern. Readers getting blown off the line a little bit. Guys having to play contain in space and not being able to make tackles. Henry was fighting off a lot of guys today, and I felt like there were quite a few opportunities for guys to be able to make tackles in space where they missed or they whiffed. And so
that's
not
the thing,
good.
right? Where this Titans O-line isn't a great unit, right? And I think we saw, especially early, again, we were getting pressure. We were getting to him in the backfield. We were limiting, yards before contact. But the tackling from the defense was atrocious today. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what happened. But, I know Derrick Henry's that guy. But when you got multiple bodies on him, you got to find a way to bring him down and bring him down quick. You can't have 3+ bodies on a running back and let him fall down for 2-3 extra yards.
Yeah. This defense was horrible at tackling in space. I think they were horrible at playing contain. They got turned around way too many times. And then Parker, when it came to just playing coverage, when it came to just sticking with your man, we got lost a few times. Could have been way worse than what it was. The very first one, trick play, where it was a handoff to Derrick Henry, a pass behind to Ryan Tannehill, and then a throw down the field to DeAndre Hopkins. Could have very well been a touchdown just outside his stretched arms.
Yeah.
But Nick Scott, that's the big one right there. I think was Scott, I believe, was taken out of the game late in game, right? Jordan Battle was put in. Scott was taken out.
Yeah, what I think happened is I saw Scott getting a lot of run as a run defender, right? He looked more like he was playing that Mike Hilton role of, I'm going to get in the backfield, I'm going to make some stops. And I think they just kind of pulled Battle in to be that, the high safety, the rangy guy, let him run around back there, which, is I'm sure people have plenty of thoughts on. But I think Scott looked a lot better today as a run stopper and then a coverage guy, and that's not really what you want out of a safety, in my opinion, unless you're going to play him in the box all the time. So, yeah, struggled in coverage. I don't know if it was all him or if it was breakdowns other places. We talked about linebackers earlier. But he looked great in the run game, which is, again, I don't know if that's what I want my highest praise to be for a safety.
No, 100%. We got to get better in coverage. Run defense isn't the only thing. It is a big thing because the AFC North is physical, and you got to have a downhill, safety. But you also have to have somebody that can be, at least average in coverage, right? And he got turned around way too many times today, giving up big plays. I'd like to see the footage moving forward just to confirm what I thought I saw. But, yeah, Wiley even had it. Josh Wiley from UC even had a big day. Felt like it was wide open over the middle of the field. Just can't happen. Absolutely just can't happen. in terms of that. Let's move on to the defensive coverage as a whole. I mean, what do you felt like you saw out there aside from Nick Scott? Did you feel like did CTV play well? Did Mike Hilton play well?
Yeah, I feel like you saw CTB who went down. Obviously missed the back half of the game or a little bit at the end of the game. Got ruled out. I feel like he gave up a lot over the top. Wasn't really running with guys well, and that could be purely he thought he had help over the top or knew he had help over the top, so he was okay playing a little bit more aggressive, and that help never came. I keep bringing it up, but I'm just the linebackers seem to be vacating the middle of the field a lot. I assume that's calling them to the sideline. Logan Wilson should be covering a potential receiver outside the numbers, and I feel like that happened more often than I would have liked it to today. Really just gave him a lot of opportunity in the middle of the field, especially against a team that's very run heavy and successful in it. The coverage felt weird today. It didn't feel like guys were in the proper spots, whether that was on their own or due to the play call. It just felt like, the Titans had it easy from a passing game perspective.
Shout out to their coaching staff for putting their team in winning positions, right?
Yeah.
Especially after the timeout on goal line when Jeffrey Simmons came into the game early. I believe that was the second touchdown and made it 17-3. Brought Jeffrey Simmons in, knew that he was going to get a lot of look. Ended up that they ran a wildcat with Derrick Henry, and then he became a quarterback in that situation. Backside, no help. Cam Sample rushed quarterback instead of, taking Josh Wiley on the coverage. Touchdown. So I felt like there was a lot of times where our coverages broke down just because the Titans had us fooled in terms of personnel or where they put their guys, right? They were just able to find soft spots in our zone. Say again.
They felt tricky today, man. That was like two big trick plays and just a lot of weird action from them. I know that Derrick Henry play isn't necessarily new. The throwback's always interesting, but I feel like even when they were in their base stuff, it was just this defense always felt like it was scrambling.
Shout out to our guy Eric letting us know that Zach Taylor pocketed 5 out of 6 timeouts. We're on the timeout brigade. We need to figure this out. Is this a trend? Is this Zach Taylor thing, or is this just a one-off? We got to go back and look into the numbers. I'm gonna do it for you, Eric. I promise.
No, shout out to the chat out there. 3 games this season where he's pocketed 5 already.
Shout out to the chat out there, man. 35, 38 of you rolling in. We appreciate you being here. Giving us your thoughts, your opinions on the game. We're definitely gonna get to you. We promise. We got to get through some of these talking points, and I'm sure we'll take a couple comments here and there. But yeah, man, just defensive coverage wise, just felt like nobody won today. Did anybody win today? It felt like a full team loss, right? Secondary.
Brad Robbins won today. Joe Mixon won today.
Joe Mixon and Brad Robbins. If you punt well and you run well.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to win a football game, right? You punt well. Unless
you typically don't want to have your punter be a top 3 player for you.
Yeah. Unless we're playing, a field position battle, and this is like, the 80s where your quarterbacks are running the football majority and the whole offense is centered around the run game. Crazy how many positional battles we lost today. I just couldn't believe it.
That's not what you want to see with the talent they're rolling out there on Sundays, man. This team's way too good to be putting a performance like that together. Because again, it was just like I don't think you can point to one thing. I know people will, and people already are. But I think overall, stuff wasn't executed well, and then the stuff that was executed well might not have been the right things that we should have been doing in that moment. There was just a lot. It felt like nobody was in sync. Like this is really just one of those games where you come out. The warm-up probably didn't feel very good. Everyone felt off, and then you get into the game, you're like, wow, we're just not getting anything going together as like a group. Like no positions playing well, no side of the ball is playing well. It's just kind of an overall – I'm surprised we didn't miss the field goal with how everything went. It's one of those games.
It was like a 26-yard field goal. No, I
It
mean, if
don't
he
matter.
misses
It don't
that,
matter.
we got real problems if you start missing 20 plus yard field goals. Let's get into the play calling. Zach Taylor, first drive, scripted. Like I said, want to see some variation. Run to pass, run to pass, run to pass. And it looked good. It looked good. We were able to move down the field and scripted. Should have probably gone forward on fourth down. Should have been a little bit more aggressive on goal line. And ended up going for a field goal there. But after that first drive, the next 5, it looked like we were able to move the football a little bit, but only the short stuff was working. And that frustrates a lot of us, right? Because this team lives off those explosive plays in the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
And we just didn't have any today. Your thoughts on the play calling?
I think what we've seen through what is that now, 4 games, is that this is what happens when you do survive, when you do live off of those explosive plays, because you have to find something that you can fall back on when you're not getting them. You have to own the clock. You have to win time of possession early. I posted about it earlier today, but it's not good to go into the second half down. I mean, you gave up 130 extra yards, and there's only a minute difference of time of possession in the first half between the two teams. It gets inexcusable to a point, where it's just like, oh, if we're not generating with these deep shots, and that was kind of the game plan we came in with today, which is great. That's fine. Joe Burrow was feeling good. This Titan secondary is weak. Like, I understand the game plan. Let's attack him deep, attack him early, and let's get in a groove. And when that's not working, again, you have to go back to what's working. When you're rushing the ball for more than 5 yards a carry, run the ball. When you're able to hit the easy stuff on the inside and short, hit the easy stuff. Like, don't be stubborn enough to just stick to the game plan rigidly and not be able to make those micro adjustments throughout the game. Like, you have to go with what works, especially early in a game. If they're not giving up what you wanted to get, then that means, okay, we both came in with great game plans. That's great. Let's go back to the core of this offense, the base offense, and let's just get something going and run through it. It just felt like they were waiting for something to break. They were waiting for that explosive play. They were waiting to take the top off this defense. They were waiting to break a massive run. Like, you can't survive off of explosive plays. It's nice to have a couple. I'm not saying that you can't expect that, but when you're not getting them, you have to generate them. And it didn't feel like they did that today.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things I wanted to bring up to you was in the first half when we got our ass kicked, the time of possession was pretty similar. And I find that very interesting in terms of play calling, because I would have thought to see a little bit more urgency out of the offense, a little bit more urgency out of the play calling, maybe a couple of no huddles, just to try to get this team's rhythm going. It just felt like there were times where, we just took the entire play clock versus, going up there, quick game, march down the field, score. Even in that third quarter, after we came out and they got a field goal initially, it was 27-3, just no urgency. I need to see urgency from this team, right? Like, if this team really wants to prove to us that they're still that legitimate Super Bowl contender, they're still a formidable team, man, you got to show some urgency in those times where you face, a little bit of adversity. You have to show us that, you're all in, you're 100%. I mean, it just, this team today looked like a team that was burnt out, that quarterback didn't want to take too many hits. Head coach didn't want to call too many plays to hurt the quarterback. We just kind of conceded this victory, and I think it showed in the play calling. Really just try to take those deep shots after the scripted of the quick game to open up the deep shots, right? And then when they were there, couldn't protect. And then to offset that, on the next couple of drives, just didn't find anything intermediate to work with to really get stuff going. And so I think lack of urgency, not being able to find intermediate, not being able to go deep, having to take quick game the entire game kind of throws a team off of itself, and they got to get back to who they are. But the other piece of that, Parker, and I have mentioned this to you last week, and I know you paid attention to it this week, is that run game has to be a part of this offense. It cannot just be a quarter part of this offense. It's got to be somewhat a part of this offense because the run game was working, and we just completely went away from it. And that's when Burrow just started to get destroyed. The offense wasn't going anywhere, and we started to punt a lot. So I got to see that run game be a part of this offense, be a part of what you want to do, right? It's got to be 60-40, 50-50, 52-48, whatever it is. But it can't be 90-10. It can't be 80-20. You got to have it incorporated in this offense in order for this team to be successful.
Yeah, I think the biggest letdown I had as far as I don't even know if you can call it play calling, but just it's the game management, it's the clock management, right? So when you're in the second quarter and you're getting lit up and nothing seems to be going right, that's when you keep this game manageable. It's like, okay, now we're down, whatever it was, 14 or 17-3. It's starting to creep away from us. Let's run the ball. Let's burn some clock. Let's just get into this halftime and let's try and get some points before we get into halftime and just really just take it easy, keep their offense off the field, give our defense a blow, let them have their break, let them catch their air, get their legs back under them, go watch some film, adjust to what they're seeing. Because that's another thing that people don't think of when your defense is on the field all game. Like, you don't really have that time to break down what you're seeing with them on the sideline. And that's where, maybe use some of those 5 timeouts you brought home, run the ball and burn some clock on offense. And I mean, you're averaging 5 yards a carry. It seems to be working. Get back to it, run the ball, and just get rolling. And then that's where you can kind of survive that first half, and you come out with a better strategy for the second half potentially, and really just come out refreshed and feeling good and ready to go instead of coming out. And that's when, again, I would like to see more urgency in the third quarter, like you talked about, where when you come out of there, it's just like, oh, let's get after it. Maybe take a couple, maybe run the ball early, kind of bring them back into the box, bring them short, and that's when you start taking some play action shots early, not just dropping it back with max protect. Yeah, this run game, man, it worked today because I understand the past few weeks it hasn't looked awesome. It looked improved last week. It now looks even more improved this week. You have to start leaning on that if your passing game isn't working. If this team can't live in the air, then you got to start running the ball a little bit. And even again, just get back to that balance, because the best drive of the day was 5-5. Not saying that's the key to success for this team, but you can't tell me it's not right now. So I don't understand. And again, once you get down in games, you're going to see carries drop because you have to try and air it out and make something happen. But you got to do a lot more earlier in the game to avoid those situations. When you have a quarter slipping away from you, getting out of hand, that's when you really just put the brakes on when you're on offense and say, let's kill some clock. Let's go short game. Let's go run game. Everyone keeps telling me the quick game is an extension of the run game in their eyes, which, a lot of people think that way. Then use it. That's how you burn the clock. Don't take deep shots, kill the clock, and have these really tiny drives. I mean, Titans' biggest strength today was being able to go on 10-minute drives. Like, that's crazy. That does numbers on a defense, man.
I think the one thing that I think that people need to take away from this game is urgency, right? The one thing that I saw last year when we went 0-2, that Jets game, there was serious urgency on that offense, those first 3 drives. And I think they went into halftime like 21-3 against the Jets, or maybe it was 14-3. But there was a lot of urgency on that team. Need to see that urgency out of this team. I'm not seeing it right now. Need to see it. I will remind people, they're saying this is over. Super Bowl window is closed. This team sucks. This organization blew it. They got to rest Burrow. They got to put him on IR. All of that. Last year, they went 2-3, right? They lost to the Ravens in the 5th game. And then they went on a 10-game win streak. Not saying it's going to happen this year. I'm just saying that the season's not over at 1-3. So relax on that. But you can say they lost today. They got their asses kicked today. And they should lose today because of how they played. So, and the other thing that people want to bring up, fire Zach Taylor. Our owner, Mike Brown, this organization have a long leash for coaches. They want them to figure it out. They're going to be patient with that. So that is not an option. Stop bringing it up. It's not going to happen. Anything else you want to add before we go into the offensive line?
Yeah, the firing Zach Taylor is fun, man. I mean, that's takey. It's exciting. It gets people, thinking about big change and how all the change that can come from that. But you got to remember, I mean, they're on the hook for a lot of money with this guy. You don't want to end up in a Matt Rule situation where you let this guy go. And now, I mean, you again, we have the window is limited. We don't know how limited it is, or allegedly it's already closed, so then maybe it doesn't matter. But I mean, when you're trying to move money around and you got to pay a lot of people, and the coach is included. And if you're paying two coaches at the same time, that's not typically conducive to success as far as team building. So just keep all stuff like that in mind. They're not going to fire this guy. He's still on his contract for a while. We can go back and we can talk about how good of a decision that was if you would like to, but I don't think firing him is realistic. But yeah, let's talk about this offensive line because I'm sure I won't talk about it at all this week.
Your favorite subject, Parker. I know you're going to talk about it all week long. We're going to have clips and highlights up after the show where you go through every single clip and talk about every rep. So I'm excited. I can't wait. People, if you haven't seen that, Parker on his account on Twitter just goes ham on every single play, posts every play, talks about what he sees. And then even later on, he starts up a space. He does a little breakdown of the film, gives points and everything. And last week it was a total success. I loved it. I rewatched the recorded space that he did where he watched the film while he talked about breakdowns of each player. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely do check that out. Now let's get into the atrociousness of this offensive line today, Parker. So the offensive line today gave up 3 sacks. Not really telling of a good or a bad performance. But when you consider that there was a fair amount of max protect, our running back was sometimes a tight end who is known for blocking, and Burrow didn't actually complete anything deep. This offensive line, to me, played poor because of that alone, right? And some of it could be, Burrow's eyes not seeing the field as well. Maybe the injury was bothering him. He's not able to move laterally or vertically, except for that 2-yard run at the beginning. So how much of this is on the offensive line for you, Parker?
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see. I'm going to get off this show and rewatch the game, post all those clips. So I'm interested to see how many of those. You said 3 sacks today?
3 sacks today.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many of those fall on the O-line opposed to, like I talked about earlier, like other protectors in that scenario. I know just kind of the guys that stood out to me were Orlando Brown and Teddy in the middle. That they did not have their best days. They did not have career days today. And I talked about already. Those are 2 positions you don't really want to have stand out. You don't want your left tackle and your center to stand out in a negative way on the broadcast, let alone when you get into the film. So that's already not a great start. I had a lot of messages and mentions about Alex Kappa, so I'll be keeping an eye on the interior. But yeah, I think I saw a lot of. I think Bolson took a step up this week, which is good to see. I didn't see a lot of noise come his way, at least on first watch. Obviously, I'll rewatch it like 95 times, but he looked like he had a little bit of a bounce back. And Jonah Williams, again, another silent day. I know he allowed that pressure late around the edge near the end of the game, but that's really all I saw of him that was noteworthy that stood out to me throughout the game. So.
Yeah, from what I saw, I don't think that the sack numbers are really indicative of the offensive line because, I mean, there were quite a few times where Burrow got hit back there as he was releasing the football. Alishear, I think, twice. Gibson once, which led to the fumble recovery, the forced fumble and then the fumble recovery. I was hoping for a little bit more from the offensive line. I thought, honestly, out of the last 3 years, I thought this offensive line would be the one that could actually give Burrow enough time to be able to deliver the football, in the intermediate and down the field. And I thought that this was the offensive line. When I looked at that defensive front for Tennessee, I was like, this is the offensive line that can protect Joe. and he'll have just enough time to cook up those corners and the safeties, because I mean this offense is way too good to not score any points against this defensive line, to not be able to put pressure on this defensive line, and for us to come away with 3 points today, it's embarrassing and it's unacceptable.
Well, and hats off to the Titans. I think they drew up some exotic pressures. I'm kind of excited to see on film. I think we saw a lot of defensive backs in the backfield. It's going to be interesting to see where they came from, who they came through, or if they were just free and Joe missed it. But I think they did a lot. They did a lot of games up front. Again, bringing exotic pressure. That's stuff that's going to generate a lot of success from a pass rushing perspective, and stuff that you could argue that I wish the Bengals would do more. But I think you're right, though. I don't think, looking at the sack numbers really tells the full story. I think there's going to be a high amount of pressures. I've already gotten messages about low pass rush win rate for the offensive line, which we had that conversation after week 1 about you have to take kind of that stat at face value and then go from there. But overall, again, like we're going to keep talking about, we talked about earlier, I'm sure people are going to talk about all week. But the run game looked good. I think this run game is really starting to figure itself out. And if they can keep themselves in situations where they can lean on the run game, I think they're going to set themselves up for a lot of success. However, when you're getting behind, you're getting down a couple scores, and the game's starting to get late, you're going to have to start letting that ball go. And that's where defenses have the ability to kind of tee off and really get after the quarterback. So that's, again, just not really a good environment for success if you're in a situation where the defense knows they can just come at you, get just full tilt and go. They don't have to really respect both aspects of your game. I do like, screening against pressure. I know they had that screen over the middle of the field. It's one of my favorite plays of the day. Just got a good look against pressure, got it out there. Wasn't crazy successful, but it was nice seeing that they're at least, recognizing what the defense is doing and they're adjusting to it as they should. But I think overall, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like how they use that screen game as kind of like a decoy too, as well, for, an intermediate to big play down the field. The one that I can remember was where Chase was the screen guy and Burrow looks his way first, but then he quickly pivots to Boyd, who I think is coming on a corner route. He's able to throw it his way in anticipation. Boyd just leaps out there and catches it. And I think it was a gain of like maybe 12 or 13. So, I mean, I like how they do use that screen game. I think that screen game really does present problems for defenses. It's just about, really, really getting down to it, really being able to use it to their advantage in a multitude of ways, because I think that could really open up some other stuff if they use that correctly, or they use that to that effect, right?
For sure. No, I think teams are going to start noticing, though, the Bengals have a trend. They want to get this ball deep down the field, or they want to hit it short, like in the flats, or for small throws on the outside. And I don't think that does a lot for your offense, because, I guess that can keep your box open, but if you're not going to run the ball, there's no reason to spread out and try and get numbers, get players outside of the box to help your run game. So I think what they really just need to focus on is trying to find ways to bring the defense into the box to stop the run, and that's what's going to open up this offense vertically. That'll give them a lot more opportunities to stretch the field, opposed to taking deep shots down the sideline all game, every game, because it's starting to get old.
Let's talk about Burrow. Parker, I got to be honest with you, man. He doesn't look healthy.
No.
He didn't run this week like he did last week. I mean, at least he rolled out last week a few times, right? It didn't look like he was pushing off that back foot as much as I'd like him to. I saw that in the warm-ups. He was pushing off that back foot, but I didn't see it too much. It looked like he was trying to push himself with the foot, right? Like the motion of his hand was going forward with that back foot. So it'll be interesting to look at on the rewatch to see if there is mechanics-wise something there to watch. A lot of the stuff that they ran that was working was to help out Burrow, But I think the question still remains, are we getting a quarterback that we can rely on over the next couple weeks in order to win football games? And I think the real answer to that question is there's not much behind him, so it doesn't matter. Like, we live and die by this quarterback. And I would rather him go to battle than Jake Browning, because with Jake Browning, I think we're automatically unfavored at that point, right? With AJ McCarron, we're automatically unfavored at that point. He hasn't been in the system long enough. With Burrow today, what I saw was a guy who wanted to attack the middle of the field, a guy who wanted to open up deep shots, and he wanted to take shots, and he didn't have the opportunity to do so because of time, but also he didn't have the opportunity to do so because of the way he operated. When we took 5-step drops instead of 3-step drop, usually he sits, right? When he gathers the football, he usually sits in the pocket and makes a delivery. And for whatever reason today, I felt like he was dropping back pretty far. I'll have to go back and take a look at it again, but those are just some of my thoughts on Burrow. What did you think watching Burrow today?
Yeah, no, as far as, just to your last point, as far as depth of drop, I think we're
Really
just
quickly, Parker,
accustomed.
really
Go ahead.
quickly. Dustin Croft, thank you for the super chat. Dustin Croft asks, is this one of the worst statistical starts by an offense in NFL history? I'm sure some ugly stats will be circulated this week. This is Iowa bad. So incorporate the question into your answer, Parker. Is this Iowa bad?
I mean, statistically, it is. I'm not a big history buff, so I'm not gonna say it's the worst start in NFL history. However, I think the lack of touchdown production from preseason to now hurts. Like I don't disagree with you. I'm sure some very ugly stats are going to start coming around, especially if this offense stays on pace. It's definitely not going to be fun to be on the timeline. I talked about it a little bit last week, but lately I've just been posting my stuff and scrolling my notifications. I don't scroll the timeline much anymore, and I understand why players delete social media. Man, it's just crazy out there. But yeah, I think overall, I think what we saw today was Bengals fans are used to seeing shorter drops. You're used to seeing this quick game, this 1 to 3 step drop stuff. And today you saw 5-step drops. I don't know if we got to 7, but a 5-step drop gets your quarterback to 10 yards, and then you're supposed to slide up under the outside pressure, and you'll have that space to work. I've talked about that a little bit on my own with various people. And that's where I think it felt like plays were taking a little longer, or it might have felt like he was holding the ball for a little longer. And that's just from a play design perspective. That's what's going on. They're just trying to, like I said, uncork it downfield, and it wasn't working. So maybe let's get back to that quick game, especially when we're facing heavy pressure. Just get the ball out quick. Joe Burrow did seem a little angsty in the pocket. And when you're getting hit a bunch, you got a lot of pressure, a lot of moving parts in front of you. That's understandable. I think that could have contributed to his couple rushing attempts that we saw, if you want to call them that.
That's when you check it down to Drew Sample for -1 yard, Parker. That's
sure
once
is
you're facing that pressure. that check down to Drew Sample in the flat is looking pretty good, Parker, for that -1 yard and going to the bench.
But I think overall, it's just this defense brought a lot, and they brought the juice. And I can't say the Bengals did. I can't say that they handled the first half the way they should have, or the way that I would have liked them to see. And that kind of puts, the guy that's highlighted there in the middle of our screen, Burrow, it puts him in a predicament, man. When he knows the defense knows that the offense is throwing the ball, he knows he's going to see some pressure. They've already been moving around a lot, trying to confuse this front all game. The moment just gets really big. The moment gets really hot, and you have to start making decisions. There was that play where he got tackled right, hip to hip with Ted Karras, and I think that was, honestly, I think that was a coverage issue because his eyes were downfield. He didn't do the typical, drop the ball, drop the eyes. He Really looked like he was trying to make something work downfield, and there was nothing there. So I'm interested to watch that one on the all 22. But overall, I just think the second half was a bad situation for Burrow. I don't think you can blame him. I do think we need to stop having the Jake Browning and AJ McCarron conversation unless you want to tank the season. And if you want to tank the season, then I'll talk to you week 9 when we actually know where the season's going. But I'm not going to be doing any mock drafts in October, man. I'm not doing it.
If we're tanking the season, I better get Marvin Harrison Jr. That's all I'm saying. If I'm tanking the season, like if
you better
wanna
tank it right if you're going to tank
it. If you want to do this right, we better get that stud of an Ohio State wide receiver on this wide receiving core. No, honestly, I think this team right now at 1-3 is still thinking about winning that next game, going 1-0 next week, and then do they have a bye in week 5 or week 6? I got to take a look.
Week 7.
Oh, it's week 7. So we got at Arizona next week. That'll be difficult. And then at home against Seattle, and then the bye. So, I mean, you gotta tough it out. But they put themselves in the exact same situation they were in last year with a win against Arizona at Arizona next week. It's still another opponent that I think they're an unknown. But so far, they've been in every game. They've been close in every game. And they don't, that's no slouch right there. That's going to be another difficult game. When you have a quarterback that can't move around in the pocket, and you have other variabilities that you have to work out because your quarterback is limited because he's a sitting duck. That matchup right there, I think Arizona is going to do a lot of the same things that we saw out of Tennessee today, what we saw out of Baltimore, try to establish the run, control time of possession, win on 3rd and shorts. That was the other thing. I said, hey, if Tannehill throws it on 3rd down today, Parker, we could have ourselves a victory, right? 8 of 13 today on 3rd down. 8 of
Not
13.
Ideal.
Nothing went well today. Man, what a day.
You hit it on the head, though. I mean, this Cardinals team is scrappy. They've won some big games, so I think this isn't a game you can look past. I know the Seahawks team's the same way, where they're gonna be scrappy, man. And it hurts that our only win currently is in the NFC, but let's pack up 2 more and be 3-3 coming into the bye with a week full of questions, and then we'll just see how it goes. I don't think you can expect a team to go on a 10-game win streak, but I don't think it's unfair to think that you can go 10 of 11 through 11 games. So I think that's got to be the hope moving forward. But I think really what right now, like you said, it's just let's beat the Cardinals. And then after we get through that game, let's beat the Seahawks. And then after that game, let's get healthy because we're there's a lot of health concerns, man. A lot of health concerns. 2 players went down today. Burrow's already been the big question mark. It'll be nice to kind of have that break. But let's stop freaking out. It's only 4 games. Super Bowl is not one in September. It's one in February, if I remember correctly. So we'll just plan on that.
I want you to answer a question here from Nate Johnson. He believes that Burrow can't throw deep or medium. Burrow can't scramble or get out of sacks. Burrow should go on IR because of this. Do you think that Burrow can't throw intermediate or deep? Or is Burrow having to have the offensive line be able to protect in order for him to get that, in order to complete that process? What is it? That Burrow can't do it? Or that Burrow needs help in order to do it? Which one is it, you think?
Well, I think as a fan base, we have to remember that the quarterback does not drop the pass. The quarterback throws the pass. So when you're getting good looks downfield, even if it's tight coverage, the ball's there. You got to make a play on the ball. He's going to expect his guys to do that for him. He's going to put them in opportunities and situations to do that for him. And all he can do is throw the ball there. I don't think there were any egregious misses that I can remember off the top of my head. Feel free to remind me. I believe my Twitter is right above around here somewhere. So you know where to find me. Shoot me clips. I love watching football. So, but I don't think it's an O-line problem. I don't think it's a Burrow health problem. I think he looks better throwing the ball now. He's not missing players egregiously. He's throwing the ball downfield well. and now receivers aren't making catches. And then again today he had a ton. I think PFF's going to freak everybody out tomorrow with a very high pressure number. So I think we have to take those two things into account and look at all the drops they had last week. I don't think this is any one player's issue. This wasn't Burrow's fault we lost the game. It wasn't the defense's fault we lost the game. It wasn't the O-line's fault. It wasn't the receiver's fault. This was a team loss. Nothing looked good. You can't tell me you came out of that game and you were like, man, at least the offense looked great, or at least the defense looked great, because neither of those, phrases feel good coming out of the mouth today. So, just sit back and remember that they paid this man $275 million for a reason, and he's got 275 million reasons to play well. So have a little faith, and just once this offense clicks, we talked about all season last year when we were having these same freakouts. Let this offense click, let this defense, get in a groove, and we're gonna be happy fans. We're all gonna be fat and happy once again. So just
Bengals
just
are back. Bengals are back against the wall next week at Arizona. Shout out to the chat today. 49 people right now in attendance. We appreciate every single one of you for being here. Randy Couch, Tommy Boy 450, MSM Liars, Ohio Lakes 513, Mark Fetters, of course.
Man, Mark's
Jimmy
always
Dolan,
in there.
Tom Brooks. Mark's everywhere, man. Love Mark.
Yes,
Love that guy. Big
Great
energy
guy.
right there. So we appreciate everybody for joining today. Look, if I could leave you with something, it would be this. It looked awful today, but that is not a reason to turn your television off and say it's over and it's done. Let this team, who has done it before, adjust, come back, and show you why they are one of the best offenses in the league. Let this defense show you why they were able to get to the quarterback last week and be great in defensive coverage. Let this team show you why they are still formidable. Stick with us. We will be here with you, Chatterbox Bengals, next week at Arizona. Anything else to add, Parker?
I'm just excited that we're slowly creeping out of the first seed race, because I like having that extra playoff game that I get to watch. So let's do it, man. Let's go win against the Cardinals, man. I'm going to be down there in Arizona. I'd love to watch you win. Let's get her done, brother.
If anything, this takes you out of the number one seed race, but it does not take you out of the wild card race. And it also doesn't take you out of the playoff race. We still got a lot of games to go. Let's keep it rolling here, baby. Hooday! We'll see you next week. And we're out.
Hooday, baby.